So again, I'm Angie Smith. I'm the regional sales manager for Hammerspace and located in Fort Worth, Texas. So cover all of South Central for Hammerspace and looking forward to talking with you guys. I'm curious, anyone here today familiar with Hammerspace or heard of us before? All right, so we're going to educate you guys today. So yeah, we're just think of us, John's going to be doing the presentation. He's our VP of customer service for Hammerspace, and he's going to go through the presentation, but we're going to tag team today. But think of us as a global data environment, and we're really changing the way you handle your data and enabling customers to be able to access your data from anywhere, regardless of what that sits on and where it's at today. So we'll go through that, and if you have any questions after the presentation, we'd be happy to answer them for you. Thanks again for the time.
Thanks, Angie. So data decentralization, but with local access everywhere. That's what we've kind of coined the term for global data environment. So kind of what we do is we can abstract away all those different silos of storage that your environment might have and provide a single view to that, and also a single way for your clients to access the data through multiple protocols. So the problem today here is that, you know, you start your company and you've got a NAS system, and then you start growing, you get another second NAS system, and you hopefully keep growing, but you end up with a lot of different storage silos in your environment. Okay, and it's very difficult to manage because you're coming from different locations, accessing files and shares on different servers, different storage systems. So what you need really is a better solution for that, and that's our global data environment. And what Hammerspace is all about really is the metadata for your files. So the metadata is like the file name, the location, the size, other attributes about the files that you might want to collect and monitor. And so we separate the metadata from the actual file data. And so we have a control plane that helps you to manage all of your files through that metadata, but transparently across all those different storage silos. And we also help you to consolidate those silos if you want to. So we provide a global file system, and it's software-defined storage, and it supports all of these different storage backends, whatever you might have. You've got NetApp, Cumulo, Nutanix, Pure Storage, whatever it is you have, we support, including in the cloud. So S3 Object Store, and also MinIO. If you wanted to have local object store, we can support that as well.
Yeah, so I think that's something that's really unique to Hammerspace is regardless of what you're using today. A lot of customers that we talk to have, they may have NetApp or Isilon, they've got Pure Storage in their environment, they're using some S3, they've got all of these different type of technologies in the environment, and we can leverage any of that for Hammerspace. So like, for example, if you've got 200 terabytes of available capacity on a NetApp, we can leverage that for Hammerspace for our solution. And so we'll talk a little bit more about how we do that in a second. But it's a pretty unique solution in that you can use any type of storage wherever it's located today.
So that's established with this metadata control plane that you see going across here above all that different storage. And with that, we offer automated cross-platform data services, a lot of different services you can take advantage of. And we integrate with different antivirus solutions, so your files can be scanned before they're accessed, and we can actually put a policy in place for that. We offer compression and deduplication. There's file versioning, snapshots, of course, and Worm, which is write once, read many.
So one thing I don't see in there, but I'm guessing you have a story around it, is ransomware protection. That's such a big thing these days.
Yeah, we certainly do. Yeah, we offer an ability to have backups of your data that are stored in a cloud bucket that cannot be modified, like ever. We support Google Cloud, as well as AWS and Azure for that solution as well. So combined with all of this is file granular data orchestration. So you can deal with things at a share level or a file level. And those files and shares can be globally replicated through the namespace across multiple locations around the world.
One thing I wanted to point, if you don't mind going back, John. One thing too on the migration piece, something I always like to point out too is the non-destructive migration. Because we're only dealing with the metadata, this is huge. I came from storage background. I used to work at Pure Storage. Before that, after that, I was at a company called Suni. And so I've been in the storage industry for a while, and typically a lot of customers would have painful migration. So they're trying to move petabytes of data from one platform to another, and that usually takes an intense amount of time. It's very painful to do that. But because Hammerspace, we're only moving the metadata, we can do that in a matter of minutes, and it's very, very quick to do that. So we do that through an assimilation process, and we can talk to you a little bit more about how we do that, but it's very quick and very painless to do that. So you don't have to worry about any major downtime or significant migration.
Yeah, that's a great point. So our architecture really is that it's software defined, so you can deploy it on bare metal or in VMs in your environment. There are two main parts of the solution. One is called an Anvil, which is the metadata server. That's where all the metadata resides. And we offer a high availability solution for that, which is a 2-node cluster. And then to scale out the storage, we have what's called a data services node, or DSX, and you can have as many of those as you want to support each site. This is showing you kind of like the whole architecture here. And universal data access layer, so this is where we support parallel NFS or NFS v4.2, NFS v3, or SMB or SIPs. And then also we have a slide to talk about Kubernetes. Is there anything else on this slide that you wanted to mention? Okay. So this is kind of a demonstration here for distributed workforce to show, like, you've got New York, right? You got users in New York creating files that need to be shared with Los Angeles. So with Hammerspace, that metadata is globally available across all of your sites. When a file is created in New York, for example, that file gets replicated. So it's also available locally in Los Angeles, but only if needed there, based on objectives or based on events. So for example, if a user in LA, they go to a file share and they double click a file to open it up, that file then is instantly replicated to be local in Los Angeles. And the same thing, you know, for Singapore, for example, a different file, different shares maybe, and then to London. Now, let's say in London, you've got a separate NAS system there, and you want to provide access to that London NAS globally. Well, how do you do that? All right, it's really difficult. You could provide VPN access across a network directly there. That's going to be slow. And also you've got to worry about management of access to that data. But through Hammerspace, we can assimilate that data set and then provide access globally to it, all through, you know, a single pane of glass, basically, and control the placement of that data and the access to that data across your entire organization.
Curious if that's, I mean, I'm assuming that's a challenge still for everybody. Obviously, COVID accelerated that distributed workforce. So is that a challenge for a lot of you guys having access to data globally or in your environment today?
Well, we are using the cloud. So basically, all the data is, so everybody has access to it. What we have is some permissions depending on who needs to have access to what.
Okay. Do you
That's
have
a good
it?
question. How is this different than a multi-regional bucket, for example? Right, because if you're looking at the cloud and you're saying, hey, you know, we put our stuff in a bucket and everybody around the world can access it. How is what you guys are doing different than that?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the same question. I mean, it's already the cloud. We already have global access to what makes your company unique?
Well, to provide access to that data in the cloud, that's object stores, right? Okay, so what we're providing is an SMB or Windows file access or NFS access for your different locations. So we have customers that need to support their distributed workforce, and they want to work with local files. They don't want to work with the files on the cloud. So they need it locally. So we use the cloud to replicate that data, but it's also stored locally, so it has a very fast access. So, and that local access is provided through SMB and NFS.
So I think what he's saying is that the speed of access for the local user is a lot better than if he's downloading those files from the cloud every time he needs access.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it's expensive to have those fast uplinks to the cloud.
The other thing that isn't obvious, maybe at the surface, is that you want all of your locations to have visibility to the files, but you don't want to incur the egress costs until somebody needs that file. So what they're saying is they expose a file system that looks like you have a 2 GB file locally, but it's not actually downloaded until somebody at that location clicks on it and wants to use it.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, and we would welcome a call. Like if you're interested in finding out more information, I will let you know. My engineer was unable to make the meeting today, so I apologize. He's our technical resource, but we definitely would love to be able to dig into that and answer some more questions for you. But he basically has answered that for you.
We also support Kubernetes with containers, and we have a CSI plugin for the container storage to automate that and manage it through Kubernetes as well. We also offer a full REST API, and we also have what's called a Hammerspace toolkit. So all of the data management that you can do through our user interface, either through the web interface or CLI, all of that can be automated through that API or that toolkit. So